Because I don't know about you, but I would really love to be done at 4.
Me too.
Yeah, me 3.
Oh dear.
I get to enjoy that 3.5-hour ride back to Orlando. But that's okay. I don't mind driving. I like driving. Okay, so. Yeah, they were passed out. If you didn't get one, raise your hand if you don't have a book. Do you have a book, Vision, or the Skills? Skill of Affirmation. Here you go. Here you go. Wherever her is, but that's okay. Okay, everyone got a book? Everyone have a book? Skill of Affirmation? Okay, I'm going to ask you something that we went through the last time I was here, right? What does that word mean? Skill. What? Something you're good at. What else? Something you have to develop or something you can develop. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go with answer B. Okay? Because you can stink at something. If it's a skill, you can spend time and get better at it. Okay? If you remember this from last time, then don't say anything. What is that term, what is that saying that they say about practice? Perfect. Practice makes perfect, right? Wrong. Totally wrong. You know, those that were here, I hammered on this last time. Perfect practice makes perfect. Because you can practice something wrong and you're still doing it wrong. You're just doing it wrong really consistently. Right? I often, much to my chagrin, use the example of golf. Because there was a time in my life when I was fanatical about golf. I mean, I was fanatical. Every day of the week I would take, this is before I'm in ministry, every day of the week at lunch, I'd take my sandwich and my pop and I would go to the driving range, which was about 8 minutes down the road, and I would spend my hour eating a sandwich and hitting golf balls every day. 3 days a week, I would go play 9 holes of golf. When I'd get off work, I'd go straight to the golf course, meet a couple buddies, and I'd play 9 holes of golf before I went home. Sunday, I would play 18 holes of golf. I was fanatical about golf. Watching golf videos, standing watching TV, practicing my swing while I'm watching whatever I'm watching. I'd go out in the backyard with my kids while they were on the swing, and I'd be out there with wiffle balls, you know, the little balls that have holes in them that you can hit them and they don't go anywhere. I'd be out there with, just golf. Now here's what God does. I wasn't even a believer. No, I'm sorry. I'd become a believer, young believer, and I'm sitting in a service and I'm thinking, God forgive me, while the sermon is being preached, I'm thinking about a new golf club that I'm going to go buy, and I can't wait. I've been saving money and I'm going to buy this golf club, and all of a sudden the Holy Spirit shakes me and I hear the pastor say, whatever you think of when your mind is still and quiet, that's your God. I felt the Holy Spirit's hands just go. Now, can I tell you that I never picked up a golf club again? To this day, I have not played golf. I actually gave my clubs away when I moved from Colorado, but okay, skill. I only brought that up. That popped into my head, which had totally nothing to do with anything other than golf is a skill. Okay, what prompted it was golf is a skill. Right? You can get out there and you can swing all day long, and it's a good thing if you get someone who knows what they're doing, because otherwise you will develop habits that cause that ball to go anywhere but straight. That's what I was thinking. Thank you very much. Okay. Affirmation. Here's what we're going to talk about. What is it? What is affirmation? Why is affirmation important? How it ties in with God's character, and what it looks like to incorporate it into relationships. Remember, all of these classes are about 2 things: developing relationships and being redemptive in those relationships. Everything that we're talking about can somehow be associated to that. All right, so many times people think of affirmation as cheering people on, sort of like becoming their own personal cheerleader. In actuality, that is not what positive affirmations are. So what is it? What does it mean to affirm? It's okay to say, great job, wow, you really did good by picking a healthy choice at that party, right? However, affirmations are more than just affirming the good things that people do. By the way, this is in your book. So what's the definition? Let's look at some definitions. To see and name positive qualities. We're talking about character, we're talking about strengths, or even intentions. Okay, we can affirm those things in a person, or positive actions a person has carried out. So it's things about them, it's things that they've done. Okay, with me? We're going to go deep. Affirm is defined as to declare positively or firmly, or to maintain to be true when we're talking to someone. Why affirmation is important. Who has grown up in what you would consider a home that was affirming? Do we have anyone that feels that they grew up in an affirming home? Do we know what that means to grow up in an affirming home? Anybody? Right? So nobody raised their hand. Does that mean there's nobody here that feels that they grew up in a home that was affirming? Half and half. So can I tell you how common this is? Especially those whose parents were boomers, baby boomers, especially early baby boomers. I'm a tail end baby boomer, but my parents were like right in the middle of it for sure. And it just wasn't something. My grandfather lived through the Depression and the war, and people didn't affirm. I don't remember my father ever affirming in a positive way. In fact, my father's mode of operation was always, I could have done better. No matter how good or what I did, you know you could have done better. Or he would say, just remember, there's always someone better than you. Never said, great job, way to go, you did good. Those things have an effect on us, by the way. Affirmation strengthens us in our soul. When I say soul, what do I mean? What is the soul? Can anyone simply define the soul? Or is it that mystical miracle wonder that we have no idea? Really, what is the soul? Yourself, right? I mean, that's a pretty close what I would consider definition, right? So to understand soul, we got to look at the fact that we are a triune being. We are considered a triune being. What is that? Spirit, soul, body, right? Okay? So body's easy. Here it is. The body, right? Spirit, pretty easy, right? Connected to God. It's the dwelling presence of God within us. Right? Spirit. Yes, sir.
What maintains the body?
Well, hang on. What keeps it going? I don't know. What is it? What do you think? I know you have an end to why you've said that. So, okay. So we have our body, we have our spirit. Okay, then soul. And in many ways what you said is exactly, our soul is the intrinsic who we are. It is that thing that makes us separate and different from anyone else. It is our emotions. It is our personality. It is the way we think, which is part of all of that. Okay? When apart from this is just a sack. Okay? And I'll tell you what, I like to think of this as a spacesuit. Now hear me through. This is what gets me through this reality. Because this is not who I am. And here's why I say this. Don't laugh. Here's why I say this. Think of someone you all remember, he just passed away, but Stephen Hawking. Right? Stephen Hawking, the applied physicist who had ALS, considered to be one of the most brilliant men of the last 20 generations, whatever, right? His body was not who he was. His body was totally broken and and of no use to him. But look at what he's done. Because this is not who we are. There's something else, and that's what the soul is. That's something else. Okay, we're not going to go any deeper with that. Why does affirmation then strengthen us in our souls? If our soul is that essential who we are, when we affirm, we are building up that who we are. Strengthening that who we are. Okay? You with me? Nod your heads, yes, okay. All right. It reinforces our capacity and commitment to live lives that please God when we're being affirmed. I can tell you that God affirms constantly, right? We see it in His character. Done well, genuinely and appropriately, we'll come back to that. Affirmation helps us become more of who we long to be. Now, an essential part of coaching, essential part of mentoring, essential part of parenting is understanding the power of affirmation and how it can move people to become amazing. One author wrote, now we're going to break this down because this is going to become controversial real quick, right? I need you in order to be myself. In loving me, you give me myself. Tell me the first thing you think about when you read this. Codependent. Thank you. Most people do think, wow, this is like the most codependent statement I've ever heard. Okay? Why do we put it up here? Because let's unpack it and understand what we want to get to with this. In other words, I need your love to be who I am. Do I or don't I? That's up for grabs. There is something about being affirmed by others who are, here's the key, who are significant to us, that fills us up in our souls and in ways that deepen our sense of how we could possibly be loved by God. The key to that statement that he made is that this is speaking of someone who is of great significance to us in our life. Now, here's how I help us understand this. What does it mean to be betrayed? So, could I betray any of you? Thank you. No. I can't betray you because you don't know me. I don't know you. Betrayal can only happen between someone where there is relationship. Okay? That's the key for betrayal. Because you knew me and you trusted me and you believed in me, and I did something horribly contrary that was hurtful and hateful. That's how we understand betrayal. Okay? So when we're thinking of this, it's when we have those people that we trust and believe in and love us and give us back that kind of input, we become so much more than we could ever be. And that's what he's trying to say here. It's not about codependence, but we become way better and way more. So my wife Angie and I, now this is, I mentioned this last time, but this is my second marriage. My first marriage ended because I'm Jewish. We were Jewish. I became a Christian. She didn't. I lost my whole family. I lost the marriage, everything, because I betrayed the family by becoming a Christian. Okay? But 2 years later, God brought Angie into my life, and next month we'll be married 25 years. And this is so true for us. Because I'm so much better because of her. Because of her love, because of her affirmation, because of her support, because of how she feeds my soul with her love and her honesty and transparency towards who I am. And that's what we're trying to say here. Does that make sense? Okay? Okay. Yeah. Well, of course. Yes. Because if it's something else, then I'm not affirming you and I'm not supporting you. If I'm trying to make you into something that I want you to be, there's no affirmation there. That's abuse and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? All right. How affirmation ties in with God's character. So, the desire to affirm is part of God's image, right? God affirmed creation. Right in the very beginning of the book, what does God say? It's good. Not only does he say it's good, he says what? It's very good. In Hebrew, that's tov meod. Tov meod. Very good. It's very good. Right? God affirms His Son. Behold, my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Right? God affirms Him. All right, so let's talk about affirmation in a relational context. It's best used when the person has reached an important goal, when they've accomplished something, a key place where we can affirm. All right? Or has given their best, or is working to grow in an area that is central to their development. So this first part of it is tied to something that is ongoing, something that they've done. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to say something that's going to seem to contradict that, but hang with me. And again, if you have questions, raise your hand. It can also be helpful when a person is seeing a stretch step. That's a technical term that only means this. I'm a senior in high school, and I've taken all my maths, right? And I'm getting ready to go into college level calculus, right? And I'm going to, to my son, and I'm going to say to him, listen, you have been so strong in your maths. You've done so well time and time again. From you did when you did algebra 2 and geometry and trigonometry. Look at how you did, and you did this and you did this. I know that you've never done this before, but based on what you've always done and how you've handled math, you're going to do great. Okay? Now that's different than me just saying, I just believe you can do great. Because that's encouraging. And we're going to talk about the difference between encouraging and affirming. Stretch step is based on something I've done, but now I'm going even further. I'm taking a stretch step. Okay? Because typically we think of affirming in the context of what I have done, not what I will do. So we say that only in the context that I'm looking at something and based on a progression, I can affirm you to something that you haven't done. Does that make sense? Kind of? Clear as mud? All right. So distinction. Affirmation is not about flattery or gushing. What is flattery? Do you know what they say? Flattery will get you nowhere? Right? The key way to understand this term flattery or gushing is it always has an ulterior motive. I'm doing it because I want something from you. I want to get something from you. So I'm going to flatter you. Oh, you look so pretty. You look so good. Can I borrow $5? Boy, that dress is beautiful. Must have cost you a lot. Can I borrow some money? Okay, that's flattery or gushing. It's about seeing and naming goodness in heart and action and helping strengthen a person in those things. But remember, we're always talking about what has or will be done in connection with other things. It's not something that, it's not like a cheerleader cheering the team on. Come on, you can win. Someone could say, well, they've won every other game. So I'm going to affirm based on the fact that because you've won every game and you've played this way and you've done these things, I'm just believing and I'm affirming that I think you guys can win this next game. That's different than just saying, go get them. Does that make sense? No? Yes? Please. All right. Acknowledge that affirming can be hard. I started out with this, especially when you grew up in a culture that wasn't loving that way. Both in your home and in your culture. There are cultures that they don't affirm. I grew up in a home that there was no affirmation. It took me a long time in growing up and in maturing to understand how to do this and what it meant to the people when I did it, especially my own children, because I never received it. I didn't know how to do it. And it was very uncomfortable in the beginning. All right, let's talk about the other side. Encouragement is that pat on the back that you give to let you know, that people give to let you know they believe in you, they're behind you, they support you, they're there for you. There's nothing wrong with encouragement. Encourage is important. It's great, but it's not affirmation. Affirmation works on a whole different level than encouragement. Encouragement is corporate. Very rarely do we affirm successfully in a corporate setting. I could say to all of you, you've all been you've all been a great audience. You've all done well. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Have a great day. Or I could go over and say, hey, I just want to tell you that I really appreciate how I saw you just really engaged. You were into it. You had some great questions. Thanks a lot, man. That was good. Do you think it's going to have more impact on him than if I just said, hey, everyone, you all did great? If I went around and I said something that was true and actual and personal and relevant, that's affirming. Okay? Okay. Encouragement is patting someone on the back for something they have not done yet but can do. Now let's not get confused with stretch step. Remember, we can affirm based on what we've done and use that as evidence to affirm, but we can encourage someone for the first time they're going to try and run a marathon. You've never run a marathon before, right? How can I could affirm the fact that I've seen you train really hard, right? But I can encourage that I believe you can do it. I can't affirm you that you can do it because I don't know that you can do it. Does that make sense? I can affirm you for what you've done. All right. Affirmation is receiving any kind of recognition for something you have done well. But affirmation supports an act or action, giving confirmation, approval of something done or said. It's a positive assertion, right? It helps people grow because we've poured this into their life. It involves valuing the importance of something. Like my example to Justin over here, right? Justin, right? To go over and say what I did. I'm acknowledging the fact that I connected with him, the fact that I saw him fully engaged in what we were doing, giving value to his commitment and his engagement in it. That's where the affirmation was. That's what I was affirming in him. Not that the fact that he's growing a beard or has a nice beard like all men should have. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding! It's a joke. It's a joke. Affirmation, it involves accepting a person as being in importance in him or herself, regardless of his behavior or actions. Let's talk about this a little bit, okay? Because can we affirm someone in spite of the fact that they may have really failed at something, or they may have done something wrong? Yeah, of course we can. Especially when we're talking about affirmation, I probably should have said this from the beginning, but it's really difficult to affirm somebody that you don't know. Like, I could give some affirmation over here for how I've seen you work, but it's going to still be surface level because I don't really know you. Affirmation really needs to be given when relationship exists. That's where it's the most powerful. It's also where it can be the most hurtful when it's not there. Okay, because we're expecting people that would love us and support us to affirm, and they don't, and that leaves a big hole. Involves your attitude. When you affirm, you relate to others with a spirit of equal rights, equal responsibility, and equal regard and respect. I mentioned I have a 6-year-old granddaughter. My son-in-law, Jamie, I don't want to say I'm proud of him, but boy, I'll tell you, the way he parents just blows me away. I watch how he is with my granddaughter, and because of how she is, you know, every grandparent says this about their kids, right? They're the best, they're this, they're that, and everything, you know. But I'm going to tell you, my granddaughter's the best. No, I'm not saying. No, she's 6 years old, and she talks like she's 15, okay? She has an attitude like she's 15 at 6, and I'm not saying bad, right? But what I've seen in Jamie, my son-in-law, is that here's Mia, right? Jamie's not much taller than her. He's a little dude, right, next to me. Jamie's like some... But Jamie does this whenever he talks to Mia. He's like eye to eye. I mean, even the most simple, basic things, Jamie, from the very beginning, I don't know what book he read or where he got it or why he started doing it, but he's always gotten on her level when he talks to her, especially when he is having a confrontational conversation with a little child. right? Even when he's affirming her, he gets down on her level and he speaks to her as an equal. He doesn't lord over her as dad. And because of it, her attitude, I mean, she asks questions and acts in a way that just blows me away. That I certainly never did with my 3 kids. Not even close. Because she will ask, I mean, real, honest, her parents, my kids, or me, can't just tell Mia, just do something. You can't do it with her. Because 1, it's got to make sense to her, and 2, she's got to know why you're asking her to do it. Now, I'm not talking about pick up your toys, or she understands that's just like, but like, you know, so we're going to dinner, and she wants to go to the playland before we go to dinner. And we told her that today we're going to go to the playland. So everywhere we went all day long, are we going to the playland? Are we going to the playland? And it's like, we're going to eat dinner, and then we're going to, and she's like, puts her hands on her hips, right? And she goes, you've told me this all day long. When are we going to playland? With this serious look, like an adult. And she only does it because her dad specifically has looked at her, even at 6 years old, as an equal. Now, I say this because in affirming, in having conversations with people, it is so important that we understand hierarchy and that we avoid it. People don't respond when you look down on them. Even if you're affirming them, and I'm standing up here and you're standing down here, and I'm looking down at you and I'm talking down to you, or I don't know if you noticed, but when I went over, I bent down and I talked to you like this. And it's intentional. I could have just stood over you, but you know what? All that would have done is intimidated you, even though I was telling you something that I meant for good. Because no one feels comfortable when someone's looking down on them, even if you think you're doing a good thing, right? You have to, in every way, we want to be equals. And the strongest affirmation is when we do it from a position of equality. From the people that we work to our children, that we keep that in mind. I think I shared with you about how when I started at Plantation as the pastor, the head elder, if you remember this story, the head elder brought me to the pastor's office, and he opened the door, and there inside was this beautiful mahogany desk. It looked like it had come from a lawyer's office. This big thing, and these beautiful bookshelves, and this big high leatherback chair, and it was like, oh, you know what I mean? One of those things, the lights went off, and the elder opened the door and said, "Pastor, and here's your office." Like beaming with pride. And I walked in, and I looked around, and I turned back to him, and I said, "Listen, you know, and he's like, hold on, anything you want, we can do." Because he's like, you know, we could paint the walls, and I know it needs some pictures and stuff. We can. And I was like, no. Hey, I appreciate it really, but could we just take everything out of the office? And he stood there, and he said, what do you mean? Like when we paint, can we take everything? I said, no, I would prefer not to have this furniture in the office. What I do want is 8 nice chairs and a small round table in the middle, and we'll put up some pictures and hang some plants, and that's all I want. Because I don't talk to people from across a desk, right? Because that's like exerting power. That's saying I'm on this side of the desk and you're over there. And it's kind of like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Why did they have a round table? Because nobody sat at the head. Even though there was a king, everyone was equal, right? And in all my elder meetings and whenever I would counsel and everything, I sat at had a little like coffee table kind of thing, picture book table and chairs. And it was so funny, I'd let people in and they'd go like to the back and they'd sit in the chairs over there, and I'd just come around and sit right next to them. And they probably thought I was going to sit across, and they probably felt like I was invading their space. I don't know. But it's like, hey, we're 2 human beings here, and we're going to like sit together as equals, and we're going to have a conversation. Okay? All right. Spend a little more time on that, but I think that's an important thing to think. It brings about a sense of worth and respect. It helps that person to believe they're significant and that they're valuable. That's what affirmation does. All right. It validates the importance of your words, action, ideas, intentions, and dreams. When we have a coaching conversation and I'm talking with people, I'm looking for opportunities to affirm their choices and those things, because it's important that they know that it matters what they think and that they're making good choices if they are in fact making good choices. It gives you a feeling of acceptance, approval, and favor. Remember, the acceptance, approval, and favor comes because we have a relationship. This doesn't matter if I don't know you. If I come sit next to you and I start talking to you, you can go, "Oh, that was really nice," but you're going to walk out the door and you won't remember it. But if we've worked together for 10 years and we know each other and I say something like that, you're going to probably go home and you're going to sit back and reflect about, "Man, that was really nice. I feel good about that." Can you all relate to that? Maybe a little bit? All right. Provides a sense of inner joy. All right. Here's my favorite part of the talk. Because affirmation done incorrectly. Now, promotes false clarity. I'm going to put two things up because we're going to talk about them. Well, I can't have them up at the same time. So we're looking at false clarity and skewed perception kind of together. Here's the best way I can figure out how to explain that. All right? So there's this show on television, the evil television, called American Idol. Have any of you ever heard of American Idol? Come on, raise your hand. Everyone's heard of it. Okay? If you've ever seen it, and I say if, you don't have to raise your hand and let everyone know. Okay? If you've ever seen it, here's typically what happens in the beginning, right? In the beginning, they're bringing people in front of the judges, and very typically, they will do like a little backstory about that person before they get in front of the judges, who are going to judge whether they sing well or not, okay? And in those backstories, it's not uncommon that they will have family or friends, and they're talking about how, "Man, every time so-and-so sings, it's like the whole room lights up, and we all just love when he like starts singing and all this building up," and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, Lord, have mercy. Please let him sing good. Please let him sing good," right? Because if you've watched the show, you know this is a setup. That they're going to get in there and this poor person can't carry a tune in a bucket. They're terrible. And the judges, bless their heart, are at one level trying not to be rude, but at the other level they're turning and they're like laughing, or they'll stop them and go, wait. "Can I ask you, what do you do for a living?" And they'll go, "Oh, I'm a plumber," or this, and they'll go, "Oh, thank God you have a regular job," right? Because basically, you can't sing. And then this person falls apart. You watch the horror on their face, and if you're anything like me or my wife, you would sit there and you go, "Okay, this has got to be, can't be for real," right? Because this person can't sing. And how could they really? Well, guess what? False clarity. Okay? Skewed perception of who they really are and how good they are. And then they're going to come out, and typically, no offense, but there's mom who like, "Oh, baby, they don't know what they're talking about. Those judges, you're fantastic. You know it. Come on, you know." And off they go, right? And then you understand where the skewed perception came from. Because here was this kid, boy or girl, that when they were 4, 5, 6 years old and would stand in front of the family and sing, and it was terrible, but it was cute. Because they were 4 or 5 or 6, and everyone would like, "Oh, that's so good, yay!" And then when they were 8 or 9, everyone would be going, "Yay, that's so good!" And then all of a sudden they're teenagers, and people are thinking, "Oh my God, are they going to sing again? No. Okay, here we go." We're laughing, but we all know it's true. Because nobody ever stood up to them and said, "Take up the drums. Learn to play the bass or the piano, something that has frets or keys, that you don't have to have pitch or have to sing. I'm not telling you, love music, great." My youngest son, Josh, he'll say all the time, he plays drums, he plays bass pretty well. Plays a little bit of guitar. He'll tell you flat out, "I can't sing at all." And thank God my dad bought me a bass guitar because he wanted to do music. But we figured out right away that poor kid could not hear that he was out of pitch. And he'd just be singing along, thinking he was doing, and everyone else is like looking over and going, oh my God, would someone quiet him down or something? False clarity. It happens far too often. We live in a society now, if I had a soapbox, I'm stepping up on it for just a moment. Okay? We have this thing that everybody wins in sports. We have these leagues that we put our children in. I don't say we, because I never would do it, but parents put their children into these leagues where everybody is equal and everybody gets the same trophy when it's all done at the end. And what are we teaching them? Because can I tell you, my friends, the world is not like that. Do we have any educators, any teachers here? Anyone who's a teacher? No? Well, you can all answer this one. If we have a student who is at class on time every single day all year long, perfect attendance, yet every test he or she cannot get better than a C, do they get an A at the end of the year? No, of course they don't. Maybe they get a little award for perfect attendance, but they get a C. That's the grade that they get because that's what they earned. In sports, it's no different. To put children in a league that says everyone's equal and everyone gets a trophy no matter what is telling them that if you're good, why be good? Because everyone gets the same thing as you. And if you're no good, why try anymore? Because you're going to get the same thing as the kids that worked really hard. Promoting false clarity, skewed perception. It is a terrible thing that has happened to far too many kids. And you know, I'm not going to make a blanket statement about millennials as a whole, but there's an awful lot of millennial kids in that generation that was the way they were brought up. And because of it, if you look at how they break down the attributes of different generations, the millennials, one of the characteristics, and for those millennials, right, please forgive me, because it's not a blanket statement, because not all fit this category, but many of them grow up with an expectancy that they're owed something, that the world owes them something, that life owes them something. And you know what? You're not owed anything. And the quicker that you understand that and understand that you get what you work for, the sooner you're going to be on your way to a successful life. But a lot of that has to do with this bad affirmation. Okay? Skewed perception. Inaccurate conclusions. These all connect to it. Done incorrectly, affirmation can be interpreted as insincere compliment or even flattery. How can affirmation be insincere or flattery? Well, if it's not real, if it's not based on truth, if there's not relationship, if I don't know you and I start affirming you, you're going to be thinking in your mind, what do you want? You're after something because you don't know me. Why would you be doing that? It doesn't make any sense. There's no context for it. Affirmation is not effective without authenticity. So I want to pop up a few things. These are in your book, and then we're going to talk about these few in one little illustration. So affirmation has to be authentic, right? Affirmation has to be measurable, accurate, and credible. Okay, again, this is in your book. All right, so let's talk about these three things. Authentic, measurable, accurate, and credible. Here's a story. Not true. This is a made-up story for illustrative purposes, okay? My son's plays baseball. He's playing in a game. I'm working. He's expecting me to be there for the game. I've told him I will be at your game. He has an amazing game, right? He catches a couple fly balls, makes some incredible throws. He hits a couple doubles. He hits a home run that wins the game. I mean, all this stuff. I didn't make it to the game. I walked up as the game had just ended, and several people are coming to me, and they're telling me about how great my son played. And I walk over to my son, and I start telling him, man, I heard you played such a good game. That was really great. I'm so proud of you. And he's going, yeah, okay, yeah, right. Where were you? Right? That's what he's thinking. Back up. I'm there. I see him make those catches. I see him hit those balls. And when I walk up to him, I say, Josh, that catch you made in the third inning when you jumped and caught that on the right down the line, that was amazing. And that hit, you had a 3-2 count and you hit that and 2 runs came in. And I'm telling him exactly what I saw, accurately. It's measurable, it's credible, it's real. And what's happening to my son? He's going, he's like, the world is around him. Because the affirmation is real. It's based on what I saw. I was there. It matters. Okay, do you understand that difference, how impactful? That's why it's not really good to affirm a situation or someone when you weren't there to see it. When someone came and told you, oh, your son did so great, be honest and say, I heard you did really great. That's excellent. But don't try and make it out to be something more than what it was. You heard it, and you tell them. Because there's a big difference between saying what I saw versus what someone else told me. Which, by the way, next time we get together and we talk about confrontation, that's going to be one of the key things I'm going to teach you, is you never confront what you haven't personally been involved in. Right? You know how typical it is? Someone comes running to you and goes, man, you got to go take care of that person. They've done this and this and this. Well, that's when you turn around and go, hey, you're the one that saw them. You go take care of it. But we'll talk about that next time. Little foreshadowing. Effective affirmation is authentic. The affirmation must be true. It's specific. The more specific, the more believable the affirmation is. Like where I could tell my son each one of those plays, what I saw, it becomes bigger and bigger and more real to him. It's personal. Generalities are not taken seriously. My example of saying to the whole group versus saying to Justin. If I went around to the whole room and I picked you out as tables, or that even is way better than me just saying, hey, you all did really great. I'm so happy. You would go, okay, well, that's what Jerry Seinfeld would say if he did a comedy routine. Y'all have been a great audience, thank you. Doesn't have any life-giving. It doesn't move your soul. It doesn't make you any better. And that's what we want to happen. It's backed up. Give details about your affirmation, which means you need to have been the one that saw it. Because that's where the most power in affirmation is. Don't get me wrong, you can affirm. You just have to do it in a way that says, I wasn't there, but I heard some really good things. Last week, I was at Lakeland. The pastor had something come up. He left. He didn't see or hear the presentation during the week. He said, Pastor, now this killed me because he's gone through coaching. He said, I just wanted to affirm that I heard you did really good. And I wanted to write him back and go, don't you remember anything I taught you? I didn't, but that's what I thought. And there you go. We're done.
Awesome.
That comes to a screeching